Hello, I am your host Adrian, and you are listening to the Gamer Librarian Podcast, the best podcast you can find on this side of the multiverse. Afterwards, be sure to subscribe to be notified when future episodes are released, and show your support by liking and leaving a comment. Thank you for joining. It's been a long time since I put out an episode. I've been really busy, like this entire year has been pretty hectic. Just starting off this podcast has been an entirely new deal for me, so that's been really something that I've been trying to get better at. But last half of this year with all these holidays and everything, it's been pretty difficult so far. I had my birthday early on in October, and that was a weekend, and then we had a wedding to go to for the weekend following. We just wrapped up Halloween with all our friends, and that was a really fun time. And over the course of this month, I was taking online beekeeping classes, something really quick and easy. Do them on my own time while I'm at work or on breaks or at home, whenever, like in the car. And that was really great. I didn't retain like all the information because I think it's more of a practical kind of learning skill that you're gonna have to go through. But it was really interesting seeing all the cool intricacies that comes with taking care of the bees and things like how the laws work vary by state, or things like taking care of the bees with their pests or their diseases, and the nature of them, like because they're just their own organism and their own kind of species that they don't listen to us. It's not like domesticated animals like cats or dogs or anything like that. It's more of like we kind of give them a nice foundation and help them to nurture themselves, because they're very self-sufficient species. They're a very self-sufficient organism on their own. So yeah, I ended up finishing those beekeeping classes, and hopefully by next year I could have some kind of experience working in apiaries, or maybe when I finally finalize on a house, I'll have enough land so I can start having my own kind of beehives. That'd be really nice. That's probably the end goal for next year or so. So I'm really excited for that. And besides doing that, I've been obviously playing video games and reading books like I've been talking about forever. So the video games I've been playing, a lot of video games have been come out since these last few weeks, and I've been trying to play what I can as they do. I'm still behind on a few of them, but that's probably gonna become a lot easier to catch up on now that November seems pretty full, or like pretty empty for me in terms of schedule. We'll start with a game that I've been talking about for last few episodes, and that's Baldur's Gate 3. This game was a huge chunk of my time. I think by the end of it, at least in terms of what the save file said, I had about 180 hours just played in that same file. It's probably more considering how often I probably restarted and reloaded saves and all that. I think I can even check on the PS5. I'll have to see on what the actual length is. But it's a very lengthy game, just on the first playthrough basis. I'm sure by my next playthrough, whenever that will be, I'll have that time cut down by half just by skipping a majority of the dialogue that I've already gone through. But this is a phenomenal game. A lot of other games have emulated its same kind of premise with its open-ended kind of tactical gameplay, right? Divinity games and all kinds of games have the same kind of style. But this game feels like a lot more like held together structure, especially with a familiar franchise that's D&D and Baldur's Gate. That's really nice. It was really easy system for people to kind of be familiar with and grasp onto if you're newer. And I think the role play experience of it, the character creator, is something really extensive. No one's playthrough was ever the same, even if you made the same character with the class or the same race. Um, and I loved it. I played a druid for my first time, got him up to max level with a good decked out, build. I chose the spore little path thing where you can like summon spores and make like spore zombies out of corpses and stuff. That was really cool. Um, for most companions I used in the game was Shadowheart, Karlach, who's best girl, and Will. I didn't find any of the other characters except for the like the leopard looking people. The woman you find at the beginning of the game, she was in a cage. I think she gets captured, and then she was just deleted from my file or from the game. I was trying to get her out of the cage, and while I was looking around, she just disappeared. Her and her cage was just gone. So I don't know what happened to her, and I just kept going in the game. I didn't really use any other companions though. I kind of liked using them. I didn't like Asterion. I'm not a big rogue user, but when I got to Baldur's Gate chapters like 2 and 3, you can definitely see maybe things like the visuals and the quality of the game kind of slow down a little bit. It's towards the end of the game, so like with the game being in technically like alpha stage for like 4 or 5 years prior, that kind of makes sense. But you could definitely see some performance issues as you get deeper into the game, and a lot of the areas are a lot more darker and complex. That's that's fine. Other than that, I think it's 10 out of 10 across the board. I think it's the game of the year material from all the games I've played so far and seen. I think Baldur's Gate 3 does take the cake for that. It offers far more than just replayability with multiple classes and stuff. You have a lot of freedom, and I think with the like the video game industry backlash that happened when the game came out a few months ago, um, with developers like kind of upset over fans enjoying a game of this quality, but being like it's too much to demand games to be like that. Well, like it's not. It definitely just comes down to money, time, and then like effort to talent or skill in I guess that kind of order. But each game, is very different, vastly different. And I think Baldur's Gate hit it. They came out at the right time, even with its pre-release alpha access kind of stuff. I had a great time. I'm loving it. I would love to play it again, and I might do a monk next time I do that. Speaking of monk, we're doing me and my friends are doing an Elder Scrolls tabletop experience through 5th edition, 5th edition D&D, and I'm choosing a monk Khajiit, and I am so excited to play that character. His name is Jadato. He's a pacifist in a world where I think the entire uh, populace kills somebody at some point. I think all the party members so far, all my friends are like kind of killers or that kind of regard. I think it's a cool dynamic to see this pacifist kind of be in this realm. But Elder Scrolls is fun, and I would love to emulate that kind of monk uh, roleplay into a Baldur's Gate playthrough at some point. But that's Baldur's Gate 3. I highly recommend it to anybody who loves RPGs or making a character in Character Creator or a fun open sandbox game. Because that's all it is, You just make a character and you can see what you can do. It takes a little learning curve. I recommend if you're not uh, diverse into one RPGs and then second 5th edition D&D like tabletop kind of understanding, then probably just start the game on beginner. Just play the game on story mode, enjoy the story. Don't worry about your rolls and all that. I didn't play with karmic dice. That's a horrendous tool for a first play. I think it definitely doesn't make the game as fun as just random rolls. Um, but that's just me for Baldur's Gate. 10 out of 10 game, absolutely game of the year. Now, for the second game I want to talk about, and this is a game I've been waiting for 13 years for. 13 years, a very, very long time. That's Alan Wake 2. I finished it, guys. I finished Alan Wake 2. Got it day one earlier last week, and I've been playing through it ever since. And it's not the Alan Wake game I would have wanted, but it's definitely a game that I'm very happy to have had, to have played and experienced. It advance the story in a nice and exciting way that didn't feel like it was leaning too hard into some kind of direction or it was trying to be too much of an homage to the original game. I would have actually liked, to be honest, a lot more newer locations or newer characters or things like that. A lot of returning characters, a lot of returning locales, obviously. Um, the newest character, Saga, is a very interesting character to play through or play as. You play as her in the game as alongside Alan Wake, which is really interesting. Um, I will say I wish that they had kind of fleshed out the gameplay a little bit. It does have the same style of just point flashlight, weaken enemy, and then you can do damage. And then you have like these like flares and different weapons like pistols, shotguns. You even get a crossbow at some point. However, that's really new to the combat, save for things like large lamps and things like that to save you from the enemies. There really isn't that much that's different to the game. In terms of combat, I would have liked maybe some newer like light weapons. Not even a big spoiler because this isn't really a big spoiler. It just kind of shows up, but towards the end of the game, you even get this thing like that's like a light bullet, like a bullet made of light. And well, I kind of wish they had more weapons like that throughout the game. Maybe they do. I played it on hard difficulty, and that was pretty difficult. Not gonna lie, early on because you don't get a lot of materials to start out with. I think maybe they're trying to make this game like you start out normal and then do like hard mode second playthrough, and then maybe they'll do like a new game plus kind of route later on. They took a lot of inspiration from the recent Resident Evil games with like its over the shoulder third person kind of horror, and it has like storage slots for your weapons and equipment. So it's very much like Resident Evil with safe rooms and stuff like that. Very homage to RE2 and 4 remake and things like that. But I would have liked a little more nuance to the combat, especially when there's a lot of areas where you're by yourself in this game. In the first Alan Wake game, there's areas where you're fighting those shadow people with at least one to two other people. You know, you go through the town of um, Water Springs, whatever it's called, and you fight with your friend who's like your publisher and the sheriff lady, I think, in the first game, and you fight through the town, and he has like Christmas lights on him, if I remember. And yeah, that was really cool, but you don't have those kind of moments in this game. Um, it's a little different than Alan Wake 1. Alan Wake 1 was a little more like an arcadey uh, kind of action horror game. This is more of a horror action game. It's not much of a difference, but if you play the first game, you can definitely feel it. And for somebody who's played the Alan Wake American Nightmare um, Xbox Live Arcade game that was out years ago, that game had so much to it when it came to like the survival and the combat. I loved it. It had a little more with like the defenses and a little more in terms of the weapons and like a lot more larger areas for combat from what I remember. And that was really interesting. And I wish that they fleshed that out, especially considering they had such great gameplay from the game Control, which takes place in the same universe. I kind of wish we had a little more like maybe supernatural powers to kind of go along with your flashlight gun arsenal. But overall, it was super enjoyable just by the fact of propelling the story in this way was really fun because it's a mystery the entire way. It does kind of end in a way that's foreseeable, you know. I personally never expected a sequel to come out of this game, but I expect DLC. I do expect some kind of maybe Control themed DLC to come out, similar to the Alan Wake style DLC they did in Control. And that's really just it. You know, we finally got Alan Wake 2. A little bummed it wasn't on Game Pass, actually. From maybe I'm misremembering, but maybe like 2 years ago they announced it was going to be on Game Pass, and I just assumed it was always going to be. But no, I shelled out full price for this game on the PS5. So that's okay. I got my money's worth, you know, playing it for the full week. And I will definitely do it again on maybe New Game Plus whenever there's DLC or anything out, which was gonna be really great. And yeah, for Alan Wake 2, that's a probably not a 10 out of 10 game for me just because it's not as maybe advanced or it's not as like there's not many more newer like content for gameplay wise in terms of this. Definitely feels like just Alan Wake 2, just you know, new coat of paint. It definitely looks scarier, not as blue or dark as the first game. This game's definitely more just like dark and twisty. I don't know. You have to play it for yourself. I truly recommend it. It has a very strange ending that only adds to the mystery with a larger cliffhanger. But it was overall really fun. Absolutely. And to get off the topic of games for a bit, let's get into something that I've been wanting to talk about a little more this month. I was trying to find a good time to make a podcast episode for this because it came out pretty well that it was October and Alan Wake was right on the cup of me finishing this book. And this book is Insomnia by Stephen King to fit the horror vibe that I wish I would have hit earlier in these weeks to try and hit Halloween. We have a horror book talk about this month for this episode. And Stephen King is a very prolific writer in my life. I love reading his books. I think his style, while it's varying to whether you like his style or not, I think his books are truly enjoyable. They're very Americana settings, very easy to understand. However, Insomnia, I think originally written in the 90s, maybe the early 80s, um, is a book where the main character is the most unreliable protagonist you could ever find, and that's mostly because he can't really trust what he sees. He's going through advanced symptoms of insomnia, where he can't sleep for long periods of time, and he starts seeing um, these strange things that happen. I won't get into too much detail because I think that's kind of part of the mystery that it's very enjoyable for that for like this kind of experience is finding out how that connects to it. So I won't get into much of that, but um, I don't know. I don't think I'll ever read this book again. I really don't. It's too long. It's just over 650 pages or so, and man, is a lot of it just lengthy drag. I mean, I like Stephen King's writing. He has a very good style of making like it seem like someone's not talking too long in terms of like first person or like narrative monologues. What I mean by that is like a character will talk about like his dad being like a sports fan, and then somehow that sports fan topic gets talked into like how this town got flooded a month ago or something. It's it's very offhanded for how that relates, but if you read a Stephen King book, you'd understand how that kind of writing goes. And it's very prevalent in this book, at least in terms of what I've seen, and it's not really for me. The characters were kind of okay. Um, it was really just the main character, Ralph Roberts, who you follow throughout the book, and he's decent enough. He's an older character, so he's experienced. He's about 70 years old when you start the book, so he has a lot of experience. His wife is recently deceased, and that pretty much begins the cycle of his insomnia, and you find out why and everything. Um, for fans of Stephen King's The Dark Tower, you will find that this book does tie into that in some way. There's various mentions of the tower briefly. There's even mentions of characters such as the Crimson King, aka Randall Flagg, if you're familiar. And that's the most driving force for me for reading this book was its ties to the Dark Tower. Love the Dark Tower. I love it. I think it's one of the greatest, at least Stephen King series ever, in terms of just being like his own personal fan fiction for himself. And you know what? That's perfectly okay. I love that Stephen King's books are like somewhat tied to each other. I've always said that that's a really great way to incentivize your readers to read more of your books. They have like slight nods, slight mentions, and brief appearances of like characters and locations, which I always found really lovingly. That's something that I love to experience, and I hope he continues that in some of his more books. And I don't know. Maybe Insomnia, I'll read it when I'm 70, and maybe when I have Insomnia, I'll be able to understand it a little more. But it was okay for what it was. You know, it wasn't scary, it wasn't silly, but it was definitely pretty serious in its tones and the story it was trying to tell. And I did enjoy it for what it was, cover to cover, actually. Now, I don't know how long this episode is really going to be because, to be honest, I have pizza coming and I want to smoke and have some pizza and play some Lies of P, which I have been playing. I've been playing Lies of P lately. Really great game. It's just another Bloodborne Souls kind of clone game, and I'm loving the Pinocchio style of it. It's a little slower than Bloodborne, at least in my opinion, but I'm still loving it. I just beat the Archbishop Priest boss guy, so I'm just doing that now, and I'm probably gonna try and finish that game before I pick up anything else in the future, like what came out just now, Mario Wonder. I'm playing that with my girlfriend Hannah right now. We just finished the first um, Bowser Jr. fight, so that was pretty fun. We're definitely gonna take our time with that because we still gotta play It Takes Two, and the newest Mario Kart DLC, Mario Kart 8 DLC, the final pack comes out this week. Love it. I can't say anything else more besides own Mario Kart if you don't already on the Switch. Even if you don't like it, I don't care. Give it your money. I think Mario Kart 8 is like the best Mario Kart game, right behind Double Dash. If Mario Kart 8 or Mario Kart 9 becomes Double Dash, that'd be the best one, just because Double Dash is such a great mechanic. But 8's really great. You know, has about 60 or 70 entire racetracks now, which is really phenomenal, really cool. And upcoming games is going to be Warhammer Rogue Trader. That comes out, I think, early December or maybe late November. And I'm going to try and play that game day one. Don't know what I'm going to get it on. I think it's PC launch first, so I'll probably get it on the laptop here, see if that can run it first. And if not, I guess we'll just wait for the PS5 version. which I really don't want to do. And then we have the Cyberpunk DLC, which I'm going to try and play around the same time that I end up finishing the Cyberpunk 2077 novel that I've started reading, which is the next book that I'm currently on. And I've kind of been lagging on that for a bit, so I'm going to probably restart the last few pages that I read and get a better acclimation to it. That happens to me when I read books. Is like sometimes you just hit a rut where it's like you don't even feel like you want to open and turn the page and read, but sometimes there's a book you just absolutely can't put down like ever. So that's the kind of rut that I'm in right now. Um, so those are the games coming out that I'm plan on playing in the future. So expect an episode about that and the future books. Like I said, Cyberpunk. And there's a few things I want to talk about. To be honest, we got some more time. I'm a big manga fan. I've been a big anime fan forever. And although I've definitely waned off of watching anime in these last few years, save for a few, there have always been a couple franchises that I've always been dedicated to. Always. I've always been super in love with them. Dragon Ball Super is my absolute all-time favorite anime, and I've been closely watching Dragon Ball Super since the manga dropped. Ever since it's began, I've all caught up on the Moro arcs, the serial arcs, and I just been caught up on the now the superhero arcs that they're doing for the manga. If you saw the movie, they adapted the movie into the manga, which is pretty cool. And now we're getting a new arc, hopefully. Cell Max is going to be destroyed. Hopefully, in a few chapters, we're going to hit Dragon Ball Super Chapter 100 in two more. We're on 98 now. And we're also getting Dragon Ball Daima, a new show that seems like a cross between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball GT, in vain of the characters getting turned into small children. I'm very excited for that. I think that we're finally going to get more on Black Frieza and more on like the gods of the world for Dragon Ball. And I will always be into anything for Dragon Ball. Looking forward to more of that. Another anime that I'm super invested in is One Piece. I think if you haven't gotten onto One Piece, you should do that now, so that way you don't have any more of the story to be spoiled for you. I kind of think that here along the ride for something like One Piece is part of the adventure. And to be honest, whenever I think about One Piece, I always think about like people who may have liked One Piece and have never gotten to see the end. You know, who have never gotten to live that far, and that's something that like I always think about with that because that's if I didn't live long enough to see One Piece, I would be really sad for myself, and I try to think about that with everybody else. So I try to take solace in that, like, hopefully I could get to live to see the end of One Piece. So I've been caught up on the manga ever since we've ended the Dressrosa arc. That's when I fully caught up on the anime, was right when Dressrosa ended, and then I started the manga proper, true proper, when the Wano arc started. But when I caught up to Dressrosa, that was my first time watching anything One Piece. I started off one by one on episodes as I grew up, and I finally told myself on like the fourth watch I would be like, I'm just gonna catch up. And by the time I got to the time skip, I couldn't let it go. That was it. It was over. And then Dressrosa came, and then uh, the manga started, and now here I am on chapter 1093, seven away or so from 1100. And man, are things so crazy. I mean, I couldn't even begin to explain to sum up what is happening in the manga right now. We're currently on Egghead Island. The pirate crew, the Straw Hat Pirates, are currently meeting the character who has been teased since like episode 100 of the anime and the manga, is Dr. Vegapunk. And we got some more lore on some bunch of characters. I won't say who and why, but oh man, this pentagram elder is something. He be scary a little bit. Uh, I'm super excited to see where Egghead arc leads us into, because we're in the final arc now. We're in the final saga for One Piece. This is it. Um, and then once that's over, once One Piece is fully ended, I hope Bandai Namco publishes a fighting game with every single One Piece character in it. That's it. Every One Piece character. As many, if you have a devil fruit power or a hockey power, if you've been in a fight scene, you're throwing hands. I don't care. Yeah, but One Piece, I'm super, super excited to see what comes out from that. I think we get another chapter this Sunday coming out, which is gonna be pretty cool. And another anime that it's pretty new, but I've been super invested in it since I saw the first episode, and that's My Hero Academia. Um, we just got onto episode or chapter 405. They're still fighting the villain alliance or whatever after the prison break, and the school's like floating in the air, and like the cities are evacuated, and Shigaraki is going ham on everyone. Shigaraki's fighting Deku right now, while All For One is trying to absolutely smite uh, All Might. And Bakugo saved the day, MVP, with his heart fully reformed now. Pretty cool. Not to really give spoilers, but you know, catch up if you really haven't. To be honest, My Hero is a pretty good anime if you like superheroes, and I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm hoping. I've always been hoping for like a Naruto style time skip. I hope we get like a My Hero Shippuden kind of show. Um, I think so. I think a lot of people speculated that like the entire series is gonna end soon, but I feel like there's a lot more they could do. There's a lot more that they could have done for the superhero kind of community, at least from this show. I don't know. I just don't want it to end like a lot of other animes that seems to just kind of stop getting stuff. But Bleach got stuff. We're getting a lot of returning animes, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I like reading mangas as they come out. I think it's really fun. It's one of the most enjoyable parts of being an anime fan to me is like reading them as they come out. It's nice to be part of that, being caught up. Um, yeah, that's about it, at least in terms of everything else. I will say that I saw a cool video that came out, and I finally got a chance to watch it, all 5 hours of it. And there's this guy. I'll link his channel in the description, but his YouTube channel is called Fredrik Knudsen, and he does like deep dive videos in a series called Down the Rabbit Hole. He has various videos, but the recent one is called or is about Eve Online, the massive multiplayer space game, and it goes in pretty good detail on the history of the game from developers starting it up, and then from players causing massive battles and having espionage and becoming full-time members of the company. I think it's pretty cool. That was really interesting dive into the series. I loved it. Um, yeah, to be honest, that's about it for this episode. I hope you guys really like playing whatever games you're playing, reading whatever books or manga. Tell me where you are. What games are you playing right now? Are you playing any spooky games for October, leading into November now? Are you reading any scary books? What about manga? Where are you in the mangas I mentioned? Are you caught up in any of these mangas? Or are you trying to get through the animes slowly as they come out one by one? Please let me know what you guys are doing in the comments. Just let me know. So I had just gotten my pizza, and I was about to go and finish editing this episode when I realized I forgot about one of the games I played this year. Literally a week ago. Literally, I was playing it last night, just swinging around New York City. I was playing Spider-Man 2. I completely forgot to mention that during the recording of this episode, and now I have to insert it somewhere. So whenever you be hearing about me talk about Spider-Man, hey, hello. Um, So I played Spider-Man, and I loved it. I think it's a great continuation of the first game. I think it's really nice and polished. I love the flying in it. There's something that would have like done a little more about it. You know, it's shorter than the first game, and I think there's a lot of lesser long side quest, things like that. Um, but overall, really great story for the Spider-Man characters. Absolutely. I think that was a really great job that they did with having a dual story between Miles Morales and Peter Parker. They felt like their own characters because they went through different things. Peter Parker definitely has a more of like an external conflict where a lot of his issues come from how he's treating other people, like MJ, like the people that when he gets the Venom suit where he's treating people badly, Harry, that's kind of his character throughout here. And Miles is a lot more internal conflict where he has to deal with coming into his own terms as a Spider-Man, being left into like not the shadow, but like the wayside in terms of Peter. Peter could kind of sideslight him for a majority of the story for varying reasons, and even for stuff involving his dad and Lee, the characters from the first game, and that's very important. Which depending on whether or not you think that's a good story for Miles or not, because of the earlier DLC kind of game we had prior. I still think it's fine, you know. I still think it was a really good way for these characters to have their own conflicts that are separate from the main villains like Craven and Venom. I thought that was really nice. The MJ parts where you play as Mary Jane, while they are a lot more interesting and engaging than the first time, I still don't know why they're here, and I don't want them ever in the game ever again. To be honest, that's just about it. It's not that they're bad. You know, they're fundamentally decent encounters, but they're very slow and they're very different from the overall pace and experience from the rest of the game. And you don't even do much in terms of the gameplay. You just kind of uh, shoot and stealth your way through stuff, and occasionally there's a puzzle. It's it's not that really great, you know. Maybe it would be pretty cool if they utilize like the switching mechanics of like you can be like Miles or Peter and you need to like protect her while she's stealthing and you got to do one or the other every like few minutes or something. I don't know. I think that would have been a lot more cooler if they mixed that dynamic. But yeah, it was really fun. I wish it had a lot more extra like stuff. It kind of just felt like it's just a actual copy of the first game. Besides like gameplay tweaks and performance and all that stuff, which is what the next gen game should been, right? The last one came out on PS4. This is the first fully defined PS5 Spider-Man game, and it feels like that. This feels like a next gen game, right up there with Ratchet and Clank and God of War. I think those three are like the pinnacle next gen PS5 games that you can get. So that was really enjoyable to have. Excited for the DLC. I think we're probably going to get maybe a Doctor Strange Daredevil themed DLC. That's what I think. And what I hope is maybe for the next game, um, we do something like playable Venom. You know, there's like even a little moment in this game where you can play as Venom and you don't do it for very long. That's kind of disappointing. And that was very fun. And I'm looking forward to more of that. So that was just me. I want to talk about Spider-Man. You know, if you wanted to play it now, you probably are, or you've watched the video on it. You know, but I just want to give you my take on that. I think it was a really enjoyable game, and I'm excited to see what Insomniac does in the future. They're gonna have the Wolverine game coming out, which I'm a little skeptical about, only because, well, if they do like a level based system, those are kind of a lot more limiting, but they could do a lot more technically than like an open world game, which I don't think is worthwhile for a character like Wolverine. I think maybe they should go the Guardians of the Galaxy route, where they have that Square Enix game where you play as the Guardians of the Galaxy, and by play as them, I mean you only play as Peter Quill, but you could play as like Wolverine, and maybe have some side characters, and you just go through levels. Very similar to that. I would like that. You know, they could make a very concise story that feels very at home to the Wolverine saga, at least in terms of him like being a loner or a brutal man or something. I don't know. We haven't seen anything for that game, so it's very much up in the air what it could be about. But whatever the Insomniac makes, they make pretty good games. It was really cool to see that their portal mechanics from Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart play a part into Spider-Man 2. That was really cool. There's a cool mission where you can fly through some portals, chasing a character, and that was really fun and really exciting. That's the kind of next-gen stuff I like to see there. So wherever I dump this segment of the Spider-Man talk, you guys just stay safe out there. This has been episode 22 of the Gamer Librarian podcast. Be sure to subscribe for updates on future episode releases. Leave a like and comment on what games or books I should talk about in the future. Thank you, and see you next time.